I'm Dana Nye, and we're in Vancouver for IMATS 2015. Darren Jinks is with us. He's Wig Master for the LA Opera. In the last 21 years, he served as makeup artist, wig master, and hairstylist. I guess that means you started when you're 10.
Yeah.
He's showing basic techniques for demonic possession, suitable for stage, film, and Halloween haunts. Everything you wanted to know about vampires, gargoyles, or demons is going to be covered today. So Darren, take it away.
All right. So we're going to put eyebrow covers on her because every demon has to, have like no eyebrows because that's more spooky looking. We're going to start by flattening the eyebrows down with a little bit of medical adhesive, some Telesis, which comes in two parts, a thinner and a glue. You don't need much. So we're going to put the glue backwards in her hair and then forward to get it to lay down as flat as we can. We're just going to keep working it with the brush until it becomes sticky because it may take a moment for the solvent to evaporate off. This isn't the most comfortable thing for your subject, but it's not the worst in the world either. So then, to make sure that they're nice and flat to the head, we're going to press some powder in them. Then I'm going to pour out some Prosade, which you could also use Ben Nye's prosthetic adhesive for this as well. So I'm going to be using Prosade transfers over her eyes, so we need to put down a little layer of glue to help the Prosade transfer stick. And the medical adhesive, we use that first rather than Prosade because Prosade is notoriously difficult to get out of the eyebrows or hair, period. But the medical adhesive provides a barrier to the Prosade, and that's easier to remove and doesn't stick as badly to the hair. And I'm going to ask her to keep her eyes closed for a while because I don't want to powder this. And if she opens, it may result in sticking together. This is a dry contact adhesive. So it's stickiest when the adhesive dries on both sides of something and then they're contacted together. And because the prosthetic is made out of Prosade, it will work lovely. This is what they look like when they come out of the mold. They have something called flashing on them. It's an overflow area, and usually you have to scrape them. These are commercially available, not these particular ones. I made them, but you can buy them from certain companies. I think Brian Sipe has a company that makes them. Friends also carries them. But you peel that off, and then you end up with just the section that you want to use to cover the brow, which is up here. And if you can see, there's all this white stuff on it, and it kind of needs to be scraped back a little bit because you'll never be able to get that to blend down. Normally you do this all before the actor, artist, subject, victim, whomever shows up, because you don't want to waste your artist's time or production's time doing these things. But because this is a tutorial, we're here to show you every little step. You won't be able to see what I'm doing, but basically I'm going to stipple a layer of Prosade onto this so that it becomes sticky. Right now it's made out of Prosade, and believe it or not, the back that's stuck to the acetate is sticky. But to get it to her face, we have to transfer this to water slide paper, which is this stuff, which has a shiny and then a matte side, and the release agent for the water sliding portion of it is on the shiny side. So we're going to end up putting that down to that, and then we can peel the acetate off, and then we can stick this to our head. And it seems like a lot of process, but it's worth it when it works right. Okay, I don't know if you can see, it's now got the Prosade stippled on it, so it's wet. And then this will need to dry before we can stick the paper down. So again, another one. We're just going to pull the bits off. This makeup has a lot of those types of Prosade, these Prosade transfers, which, by the way, were invented by Christian Tinsley. I think he won a Technical Achievement Award for them from the Academy. This one's a little cross that I did for another show, and we're going to put that on her forehead upside down because, you know, demonic possession, we need an upside down cross on someone. And you don't need tons of Prosade on it, just a nice thin layer is plenty. So this first one, you know it's dry when it's gone clear and it's shiny. So I'm going to transfer this one to the paper. So it's on the shiny side, which has the release on it, so I know it's going to release. And you just kind of burnish the edges down into the paper. You don't want to over burnish the entire surface, you just need to make sure that it's lightly tacked in the middle. And then what you're concerned with are the edges, because that's where you really want it to lay down. Then to get this onto her face, I have to wet this. So basically I'm going to take and put a little puddle of water, and I'm just going to kind of float this into it to pre-moisten the back. Sorry, I should have peeled the acetate off before I did that, which I just peeled off. And the whole reason of doing this with water first is because now it's flexible and I can actually bend it to the shape of her face. So I'm going to try to line this up as best I can over her eyebrow. And we're going to stick it in place. The other part of this, it's water slide paper, so we're going to make it slide off, hopefully, by continuing to add dampness to the paper until it releases. And I'm going to give her, for her comfort, just a couple of Kleenexes, if you want to take those. So if anything ends up dripping down into the eye a bit, it's just water, it's not going to hurt her. But she'll have something to use to, like that, to catch it. That came off really well. So since this is Prosade, it's dissolvable with alcohol, which is a wonderful thing about these. And if you have any edges, also a reminder, I'm going to be working near the eye, so if there is an issue with anything dripping, she can catch it. And I'm going to go over the edges and push them down into place and remove anything that's gooey and wrong. Now I'm going over the eye, just so you know, you can probably feel it, and putting down this really thin membrane. Let me know if it's a problem. And these were a really great match for her skin tone, so. Now, that's all on and covered, that's great. It's very sticky, I'm gonna let it sit. A lot of people will powder it. I kind of want to do a little stipple of some Prosade over it just to blend it off and finish it. But I have another eyebrow cover and an upside down cross to do. So I'd rather do them all at once and then move on. Again, I'm just going to position this as best I can. And stick it down. But you can see, because it's wet, it's very easy to mold it to the eyebrow. If it wasn't wet and you tried to put it in place before, you'd have a tough time getting the edges down. So, instant no eyebrows. I'm going to continue melting the edges off to get them as nice as I can.
Melting with alcohol?
With alcohol, yeah. So there's a couple of edge problems on this piece, but it's not too bad. I can kind of pick them up and get rid of them. These are really thin, so they have a tendency to turn if you don't get the edges down. Like that one went down really beautiful. This one, not quite, but you know, it's not a problem. I think a lot of makeup is about problem solving. We would like it to be perfect, but it rarely is. So then I have the one more piece to do, which is this upside down cross. So same idea, looking for the shiny side, don't use the matte. Shiny side down on the piece. Thank God I did that right, because this is the only one of these I have. And then burnish the edges, trying not to mush the center down too much. Because the only thing you're really looking to stick down are the edges on the piece anyway. I mean, the rest of it will stick of its own accord. Scissors, again. I am cutting it out to just the edge, right where I stippled the Prosade to. And I'm going to go ahead and spray some water here. And I'm going to peel off my backing again. Okay, not too bad. So just to demonstrate something different, I'm going to use a silicone prosthetic. It's gel silicone. It's encapsulated in bald cap material. And I thought these would look really good like on each cheekbone, like just gouged her face. So I'm using liberal amounts of powder here because these are glue. And the powder is going to kind of show me where my edges are crap. I'm sorry, are not good. And I'm just going to dust off the extra. Okay, and then I will probably go back over that and stipple just a little layer of Prosade to seal all that together. But let's go ahead and do the scars or the cuts. And for these, I am going to glue them down with Telesis 5. With these, you pick a contact point, and hopefully don't run the glue all the way down the face. And then you can lay your prosthetic in place on the face. And stick it down, and that's going to provide you your hinge to do all the rest of your work. And you just start working from that hinge down and back, and you want to try to make sure that these are glued all the way up to the very edge, the flashing portion. The flashing portion is this, and that's what we're going to melt off. Then I'm going to do the same thing coming back down the other direction. The one thing, these little pieces, they're a bit delicate, so they kind of take some time to stick down. Not sure which is less time consuming between the two, the Prosade or the silicone. They each have their uses. So then I'm going to take that same brush that I was using to push the alcohol in through here, and I'm going to melt the edge off of that. And again, I've got a little Kleenex in case there's any runs, major runs. That's one cut on one cheek. I think we should do a matching cut on the other cheek. I should point out, if you can see, if you turn this way just a little bit, when I'm removing the flashing, I'm pushing away from the prosthetic because I'm also simultaneously knocking down the edges, anything that wasn't glued, and melting it into the skin so that hopefully it's almost imperceptible. I'm really close to her eye, so I'm being extremely delicate right here. and make sure that her eyes shut so I'm not having to tell her. But if you're working on someone that insisted on opening their eye, don't, because the fumes from the alcohol would just irritate it. So I'm going to do provisional. I kind of wanted something on her chin so that there's a symmetry to it. Not that I would think that demonic possession would be symmetrical, but why not? But I thought if something was running under the... Ooh, let's go all the way down the neck, even better.
I like it.
Never mind, we're not cutting it. We're using it as is. So usually I start in the middle with these, but obviously I need to figure out where my best point is to start on the chin. So thus, I will start on the chin. So I'm going to take a little bit of Bondo, which is Prosade that's been thickened, either creamed or thickened with Cabasil. If you're using Cabasil, be very careful because it's fumed silica and it's not good for you, so you need to do it in a well-ventilated area. But I just want to do a little stippling over these edges, which is just going to add a touch of texture, and it's going to help blend any areas that aren't the best edges. And you don't have to do the whole surface. This is just break up for the blend edge. And if you've got really excellent edges, you may not have to do this. But I find it just helps to fool the eye. The thing about the cap plastic on the silicone prosthetics is it leaves a very shiny, non-textural edge, and that can get picked up very easily. So if you just do a little bit of texture back into it with a little red rubber sponge and a touch of stipple, you'll have a better chance of fooling the eye that it's not there. This one went down so well it really doesn't need it, so. But I am going to do the rest of the silicone, because if you turn this way, I don't know if the camera picks it up, and put your head down and then back, you can see this little band right there. That's the band right here. That's a bit shiny. That's what you're trying to kind of add a little bit of texture over it. And since this has got Cabasil mix in it, the Cabasil actually acts as a bit of a matting agent too. So it will help transition that edge and make it, like I said, go away. And you can use this a little thicker in areas that seem to have a bit more of an edge. Now the next step in this with the sealing of the edges is to powder everything again, and then I'm going to brush over it with some Final Seal, just to put the same texture to everything. Final Seal tends to take, or some type of sealer, we like Final Seal, Ben Nye, tends to take the paints a bit better. And this is going to be a liberal powdering, so this will also tell me if my edges anywhere are still goofy. But looks like we're pretty good. We're going to dust off the excess there. And I'm just going to take a nice flat big brush from Ben Nye, one of their wonderful little synthetics. They've got a new line out now actually that they've imported that are really nice. Some blenders, some blush brushes. Love this one for blush. Clearly, I think I used it for powder earlier, but it's really great to blend out a foundation, something really gorgeous. I highly recommend the PBS number 3. So, good brush. So, like I said, large brush. Just gonna pour some Final Seal in a cup. And I'm just going to very lightly go over everything to put a little sealant layer on the powder. And this does have a matting agent in it, so it'll go right away. And then definitely over the eyebrow covers, because they don't have an encapsulant on them. They're just pure Prosade. So this will help bite into the Prosade and give me a really good surface to paint on. Okay, and if I've done my job correctly, all those edges should now be completely down and out. Okay, so now we have to figure out the next step, which is painting. Ah!